Workhorse stock, the Stallion, is currently trading under $18 a share. It has came off the highs by almost as much as 50%. So what in the world is going on? What's up, traders and investor homies? It's your boy Kevin. This is Touchdown Trades. I'm your trading BFF, your stock market bestie. In today's video, we are going to be doing a full depth analysis into Workhorse stock, and I'm going to be giving you my top 5 reasons that I believe Workhorse is still going to land a big portion of the USPS contract. And we're going to be doing an analysis and updates into Workhorse and talking about why it is pulled back so significantly. There is a lot of people, a lot of Workhorse investors that are scared right now, and rightfully so. It's not normal that a stock goes down 50% in just a matter of weeks. However, I think this is somewhat overplayed and that Workhorse is going to be alright, and we're going to talk about that in today's video. If you're new to the channel, we talk about the hottest stocks in the market every single day, so consider subscribing. And before we get started, all I ask for is one big favor, and that's to just like the button. Like the button, go down there and start clicking all the buttons and give the Touchdown Trades snake eye jab in the eyes to the button, because the button is not our friends. Alright guys, so let's break down Workhorse stock, talk about the sell-off, why it's going on, talk about my 5 reasons that I believe Workhorse is going to land the USPS contract and the stock price will recover. And we'll talk about some recent news updates, all that type of stuff. Just a full Workhorse coverage. So let's get it. And as always, let's secure that bag by making smart investments and sound trades. Trader and investor homies, we got a doozy today, boys and girls. We're going to be breaking down the Stallion. That's right, the Stallion Workhorse. The Stallion currently has an injured hoof. The hoof needs a new shoe. They need to do they take the old shoe off and hammer the new shoe in, but it's going to be okay. Let's talk about why. So we have seen Workhorse and the entire EV sector be very, very strong over the last year. Workhorse was trading at a low of 244 back in June, okay, and then it ran up, hit this resistance up here at the $23 area, consolidated for a couple months, and then we broke out over it and hit highs of $31 a share. Since we hit those highs of $31 a share, it has not been good. We came back, retested that $23 level. We held for a minute, retested the highs, failed, and now we're selling off, currently trading under $17 a share. So things aren't looking good. What in the world is going on? Let's talk about it in today's video. So why has Workhorse been selling off? And the answer is very simple. It is called dilution. Dilution is when a bunch of selling comes into a stock, and no matter how much buying comes in, the selling overpowers it and the stock sells off rapidly. And in the case of Workhorse, you had a lot of executives that had ownership in the company, stock options, that type of thing, and they're selling. And you can't blame them because the stock's up a couple $1,000% on the year. They wanted to cash in on their hard work. Does this say that they don't believe in the company or that the long-term outlook on Workhorse is looking very bleak? Absolutely not. These guys just want to get paid like you and me, and they're taking some profit. These sales right now, they're big orders. It's a lot of money going through, a lot of sell orders. But a year from now, it doesn't matter. And when Workhorse does get the USPS contract, this all goes out the window because there's going to be such an influx of buying pressure that this sell-off will come to an end. And let's talk about my reasons of believing that Workhorse will get the USPS contract. First of all, let's talk about Ark Invest. There's been a lot of chatter that Ark Invest and Cathie Wood have been selling their Workhorse position over the last 2 weeks. And is that true? Somewhat. But you got to realize with ETFs, they have to keep their portfolio percentages a certain way, right? They can't have 50% of one stock and then 2% of another stock. They have to keep their percentages according to the requirements of the fund. So last week, Ark Invest sold a little bit more than 3,000 shares of Workhorse. And then the next week, they bought back a little less than 3,000 shares of Workhorse. What that tells me is that they're just reallocating the fund to match the fund requirements. They're not getting out of their position. They still own almost 900,000 shares of Workhorse, valued over $14 million, and it is still the 23rd biggest holding in the ARKQ fund. So they are still long Workhorse. It is still one of the bigger holdings in the fund, and that tells me that they still have faith that Workhorse is going to get the USPS contract and that Workhorse will be a strong player in the EV last mile delivery for many decades to come. This is somewhat old news, but I'm just laying out the breadcrumbs, and at the end of the video we'll come to a final conclusion with all my reasons for believing that Workhorse will get the contract. I'm just laying out my thesis for you guys on why I'm still a big believer in Workhorse stock. Reason number 2 is Ford is probably Workhorse's biggest competition in the bid to get the contract. And Ford is cutting jobs left and right, okay? They are slashing jobs, laying people off, and Workhorse is hiring more staff left and right. They're hiring more engineers and they're hiring more manufacturing staff. So the two biggest competitors in the bid to get the USPS contract are doing two completely different things. One is hiring, one is firing. Reason number 3 is that Workhorse was added to the GSA, U.S. General Services Admission Roadside Assistance website. What this is it's a fleet, this is a government website that lists the fleets that they use, the vehicles they use, and what phone number you can call to get roadside assistance on your vehicle. So for example, you are a USPS driver. You're doing your route, you're hitting your mail deliveries, and your truck breaks down. Who do you call? You can go on this website, find the number for roadside assistance, and call it. And we see down here that Workhorse was added to the list. So by itself, this means really nothing. It means absolutely nothing by itself. But we're just laying out my thesis and the breadcrumbs, and at the end we'll put them all together and we'll see what it looks like. Workhorse just landed a $200 million loan for financing to up their manufacturing. Okay, and banks are not stupid. Lenders are not stupid. If they thought Workhorse was not going to be able to pay this loan back, the loan would have never been issued. Okay, and in the fine details of the loan, the paperwork, it said that if Workhorse got a portion of the USPS contract, that they would not have to pay a high interest rate, that the interest rate would be reduced to basically like 2%. Also in the fine print of the contract, it said that if Workhorse's stock price went to over close to $40 a share, that the lender could exercise the loan and instead receive stock instead of getting paid back in cash. So the lender obviously has faith in Workhorse and their ability to pay back a $200 million loan. This ain't breadcrumbs, baby. This ain't just chump change, baby. This is $200 million. We're not talking about a little bit of money. We're talking about $200 million. People aren't loaning out companies that are going to fail $200 million. There's been a lot of haters out there saying, oh, it's just a loan. Anybody can get a loan. That is not true. That is absolutely not true, because if you're a company that is failing, no lender is going to give you a loan no matter what, and especially not a $200 million loan. Another reason being, they're located within the United States, and I firmly believe that this contract is going to go to a US-based company, and the only two left in the running are Workhorse and Ford. Ford, remember we just talked about, Ford has been cutting employees, and you would think that if you're going to get a multi-billion-dollar contract, you would need to be retaining those employees at a minimum, and Workhorse has been hiring. That is just breadcrumbs adding up. Just a little heads up before we conclude my thesis on, we'll put all the breadcrumbs together and see what it looks like. Just a little heads up, Workhorse is going to report earnings on Monday, November 9th. And I just want to put a little disclaimer out there that I don't think it's going to be a crazy earnings. I don't see earnings being crushed because nothing's really changed. It's just been too short of a time period for anything substantial to happen. So if you're a Workhorse investor and you're hoping on this earnings report to stop this sell-off, I wouldn't put all your chickens in that basket because nothing has really changed from a fundamental perspective, right? It hasn't been long enough. Maybe 3, 4, 5 earnings reports down the road, yeah, we should see some substantial revenue growth. But this upcoming earnings report, I would have your expectations kind of tampered down a little bit. And that's not a diss on Workhorse. It's just not been a long enough time for them to kind of get established and get this manufacturing process underway. All right, let's wrap all these breadcrumbs up. Let's put them into the bread basket, make them into a bologna sandwich and eat them and then see how it tastes. Okay, so Ark Invest continues to buy Workhorse. They were rumored to be selling out of the Workhorse position. It ended up not being true. They were just reallocating funds to get the diversification of their portfolio to match the fund requirements. They then bought back the shares. Number 2, Workhorse was added to the GSA website for roadside assistance. Number 3, Ford is firing. Workhorse is hiring, which is a good look. If you're about to get a big contract, you're not going to be firing people. You need to have the employees in place to be able to handle a contract of that size. And I'm sure Ford has the infrastructure of employees to be able to handle a contract. But it just seems really good that Workhorse is hiring. And 4, they just got that big loan, and on the face, getting a loan is never good, but the lender is showing faith in the fact that Workhorse thinks that they're going to get the contract by making sure that there's the fine print saying that if they do get the contract, the terms of the loan change and they get a smaller interest rate. So individually, none of these really mean much, but cumulative altogether, it means on the outside looking in, I think that this looks really good for Workhorse to get the contract. I still believe they're going to get the contract. And I believe this sell-off was caused by dilution, the whole EV sector being really weak, and the market as a whole being weak. I don't think it has really anything to do with Workhorse specifically. I think it's just outside factors kind of just hitting Workhorse, and we're getting a little bit of a correction here. Stocks can't go straight up. Workhorse has been very, very strong, and a pullback of this nature is normal. When you're up over 1,000% on the year, a little bit of a blip in the radar, that's normal. I still think Workhorse gets the contract. I know a lot of this news wasn't very new news, no pun intended, but it's just reassuring to put all the factors together and see what direction it's pointing in. And I think the arrow is pointing in Workhorse getting the contract, being fine in long term, breaking these all-time highs and making new all-time highs. If you are looking for a new broker, check out the link in the description for Webull. If you sign up using my link and deposit $100 or more, you get not 1, not 2, but 3 free stocks valued up to $1,600. You can't beat it. All right, guys, that's going to wrap things up. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, like the button for me. It really helps me out, helps the channel grow. And if you're not yet a subscriber, consider subscribing. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Until next time, peace.